We be live. Hi, everyone. Let me actually check if we are live. Make sure you like the stream, guys, while I check the audio. 1 second. Let me know if the audio is good. I think the audio is good. Make sure you like the stream. Yep. I confirmed the audio is good. Guys, everybody in the live chat, like the stream and write in the stream that you have liked the stream so I can see that you have liked the stream and that we could highlight it so other people end up also liking the stream. Guys, we have a lot of videos today, so I'm going to jump right into them. Right, so we're going to be doing looking at different UK politicians and their stance on Islam. How about that? And see, because a lot of people are telling me that you guys, especially from UK, are telling me that things here in the UK are going from bad to worse. So let's see what the positions of your politicians are and which one of them we agree with and which ones we don't. Okay, so people are saying voice is good. Oh, Dolly is here. Thank you so much. Can hear you. Okay, like. Thank you. So Dolly here. Guys saying hi all. Okay, good. Guys, when you like the stream, also write in the live chat that you have liked. Let me actually call in Alfred so that he could come and highlight the show. Oh, okay, so Alfred is going to be a little bit late, but when he's here, he's going to be highlighting your comments. Okay, so let me read the context of this first video before I start playing it. Rishi Sunak claims that Reform UK is marginalizing people. So let's listen to this. I'm going to play it from the beginning to end without pausing, and then we will react to it, okay?
When my two daughters have to see and hear Reform people who campaign for Nigel Farage calling me an effing packy, it hurts and it makes me angry, and I think he has some questions to answer. And I don't repeat those words lightly. I do so deliberately because this is too important not to call out clearly for what it is.
Is it frustrating for you that there are some people who would have voted for your party in the past who are now leaning towards potentially voting for Reform UK when their activists are doing and saying things like that?
Okay, so their reporter audio is very low, so I'm going to repeat what the reporter is saying. Hold on. So the reporter is asking Rishi Sunak here is it frustrating for you guys? So this is the former prime minister. So people who don't follow UK politics, this is the former conservative prime minister of the UK. Now he's no longer. Okay, we will go to the Starmer pretty soon, and also Nigel Farage. We will cover Rishi Sunak, Keir Starmer, and Nigel Farage's different positions on immigration, Islamophobia, racism, and all of that. Okay, so this one here, so Rishi Sunak, Nigel Farage, and Keir Starmer. So here, Rishi Sunak is saying it was talking about how some offensive language is being used against his daughters. Let's actually go from the beginning because I want to make sure that we got what his claim is. Is he saying
when my two daughters have to see and hear Reform people who campaign for Nigel Farage calling me an effing packy, it hurts and it makes me angry, and I think he has some questions to answer. And I don't repeat those words lightly. I do so deliberately because this is too important not to call out clearly for what it is.
Okay, so the reporter is now asking, because I'm reading it out loud because the reporter's audio is very low. It's saying, is it frustrating for you that there are some people who have voted for your party in the past who are now leaning towards potentially voting for Reform UK when their activists are doing and saying things like that?
Well, when you see Reform candidates and campaigners seemingly using racist and misogynistic language and opinions, seemingly without challenge, I think it tells you something about the culture within the Reform Party.
All right, so guys, how do you respond to this? Because I see this time and time again, people making these claims about parties, especially parties to the right, that they don't like. This is, I want to see what you guys are. Somebody's saying is. Let me see what you guys' takes are. Oh, somebody. Okay, let me. Ahmed. Okay, so I don't know what happened to Ahmed that has that Dolly is liking, but I'm suppose that's something very good. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's my position. My position is that every movement will have people that are crazy or maybe racist or some have some radical views in them, right? The fact that you are going out and looking at people's within that movement and highlighting them to try to paint the entire movement as bad or racist or were bigoted or whatever shows that the actual people within that party might not have as bad of a position for you to be able to highlight, right? So you go and you look at their manifesto, you look at their platform, you look at their politicians, you look at their policies, and you find nothing racist or bigoted in them. So you would have to go and see with the mass high number of followers and supporters that they have, as soon as if you find a few anecdotes, a handful of people who have some racist positions, then you will basically zoom in on them and trying to paint the entire movement or party as if it's racist, right? The to be honest, if there are, if there is any party that racist or xenophobic or bigoted people would be attracted to, it would be whatever party is to usually would be the whatever party is to the most right. So, or the one who has the most aggressive position towards immigration. Even if that policy is good, it's a good aggressive policy towards immigration, and there's nothing racist or xenophobic or bigoted about it. At the end of the day, if the racists that you have within your country or within your society, they are going to pick your party there, and you cannot avoid that. How is that my fault? For example, let's say I'm a politician. I see that we are having too much immigration in our country, and we're bringing people that are not the best for our country. And I'm going to be the party, for example. Imagine as a politician, I am going to be the party that is going to take the most aggressive stance against that. And I'm going to, and it's a sound policy, it's good for the country, and there's nothing xenophobic or racist or bigoted about it. Just because of the mere fact that I'm doing this, obviously, the racists of the society, they are going to pick my party because I am taking the most aggressive position against migration, even though my policy is good. How is that my fault? How is that my fault as a politician? My policy is sound. My policy is good. My policy is good for the country. How am I going to be? What else? What can I do other than saying like, yeah, okay, well, that's not my position. I'm not racist. I do not like these racist people. What else do you want me to do? Are you going to keep blaming me for them being attracted to me? I'm not attracted to them. I am constantly signaling to you that I do not agree with them. I'm not going to, but you're going to keep coming and acting like my party and my movement is racist just because of a handful of racists within my party. Like, this is anecdotal evidence. Like, oh, I heard some people calling me like the P word, and we don't like it. Some people from this party. Oh yeah, sure. Your party has like no people with everybody in your party. Everybody who supports your party they're all just saints, and not that saints were any good. They're just like pure good people. Like, what I would not be able to find any person within supporters of your party that have problematic views. What about the leftist party in your country? That it's not just their followers and supporters, but actually the leaders of the leftist party in your country who refuse to condemn Hamas. So between a party that has a couple of people who support it with problematic views and a party that its leaders have problematic views, I would pick the first one. I would pick the party that the leaders of them don't have any radical, weird, bizarre views, but they may have some followers that are like that, over the party that actually has crazy radicals leading it. How about that? In general. Like, that's me personally. Guys, by the way, I'm not endorsing any parties or anything. I'm just saying this is an accusation that doesn't hold any water. I mean, all these parties equally not equally. All these parties will have people within them that have problematic views. But when it comes to problematic views, right, there are certain types of problematic views that gets a lot more attention than other problematic views. So some parties, right-leaning parties, might attract more people with racist views. Left-leaning parties will attract people who maybe would not condemn Hamas. But the problem is that left-leaning parties usually also have leaders who would not condemn Hamas. These are all problematic. Every party will attract its fair share of people with nonsensical views. Wait, what is the problem? Everything okay? Oh, is the super chat not available? Sorry, let me fix the super chat. Thank you, guys. Sorry, it's the Alfred is not here, and we have problems like this when Alfred is not here. Let me see. Did we get a donation? Because yeah, so Ali Ahmed gave us a $10 donation. Thank you so much because of the super chat not being available. So thank you guys for pointing that out to me. I will fix the super chat issue. Let me see. This is the stream. Okay. There we go. So now the super chat is on. Thank you, Dolly. And thank you, Ahmad, for using the donation function, even though the super chat was not available. Okay, so guys, now you could use super. Thank you guys for telling me in the live chat. All right, so actually, let's go to Nigel Farage and see how he responds to these allegations. Let's go look at this one. Let's listen to this.
The question I'm asking,
well, and
Mark here talked about things that have been said by candidates. Now, hang on, Nigel Farage, please answer this question. This has been widely reported.
Yeah,
these comments, hang on, let me finish. These comments by your candidates have been widely reported. You don't need a vetting company to fund. They're out there in the public domain, in the newspapers, online. Why are they still standing as your candidate?
I inherited.
Okay, so now we're talking about she's questioning her. Let me actually make sure I give you the full context. So she's questioning her about racist people. So let me see. Nigel Farage was asked on BBC Question Time about the selection of candidates for his party who have been widely reported for their controversial comments, like maybe some racist views and stuff like that, right? So this is not just supported. These are people within the party, right? So let me see. These are candidates that have been selected, right? So this is a more serious allegation than what Rishi Sunak was saying earlier, which I played for you guys, right? So that's the context. Let's see how Nigel responds to that.
The question I'm asking, and Mark here talked about things that have been said by candidates. Now, hang on, Nigel Farage, please answer this question. This has been widely reported. These comments, hang on, let me finish. These comments by your candidates have been widely reported. You don't need a vetting company to fund. They're out there in the public domain, in the newspapers, online. Why are they still standing as your candidate?
I inherited a start-up party. Remember, I've been doing this.
Why are they still standing as your candidates?
Well, they're not. They've been disowned. In most cases, they've been disowned. When people like Lily honestly, what he said is criminal.
So why is it your candidate?
Wrong. I have no idea why this man...
You are the leader.
I wasn't.
You are now.
I inherited this. It was a start-up party. I paid a professional London vetting company to weed this out. The work wasn't done. We're a start-up, and all start-ups, whether they're business or political parties, get wrong uns in the end.
Well, now I've pointed it out to you. Are you going to withdraw your support from these people?
I wouldn't want anything to do with them.
I just have a question about being a
parent. All right, so let's go for let's respond to the first part. Let's respond to this. I mean, I don't understand what you expect from the man. He's telling you that he doesn't he goes beyond disagreeing with them. He says that what he's saying is criminal, according to Nigel Farage, whatever comments they have made these candidates. And he just became the leader of this party. He wasn't. So he is obviously, you cannot just snap your finger and make these people go away. These things can't take time. They take there's a system, there is some investigation that needs to be done. So look how unfair the accusation is. As soon as he jumps on them, he's like, oh, these people are your candidates, why are they here? Well, hey lady, I just got here. Look at my position right now. I am saying that these are criminal. I am saying that these people don't belong to this party. These positions, I mean, I don't agree with any position being criminal, but that's his position. I disagree with them, and I don't want anything to do with them. What else do you want from me? These people do not reflect my views, and it's not like code that when a candidate comes, it just automatically gets removed. It's not like immediate. These things takes time, investigation. There needs to be a process. There needs to be a hearing or whatever process your party has. But don't you see that the leader of the party is taking a very maybe even too much of a strong position against them, because he's saying these positions are criminal. I mean, I think he's a little bit, how could a position, I mean, it's the UK. I guess you guys don't have the free speech like Americans do in the UK, but let's listen to this again.
I'm asking, and Mark here talked about things that have been said by candidates. Now, hang on, Nigel, please answer this question. This has been widely reported. These comments, hang on, let me finish. These comments by your candidates have been widely reported. You don't need a vetting company to fund. They're out there in the public domain.
Well, it does take, they're out there, and like they do, they're out there in the public domain. You have to understand that it does require vetting. It does require investigation. Given how social media just throws around accusations, and sometimes clips are taken out of context, sometimes somebody's quoting somebody else, I understand that they are racist people, there are bigoted people, and I'm not saying that these people are not bigoted. I'm just saying it needs to be vetted. It needs to be investigated. You cannot just willy-nilly just remove anybody as soon as this woke people on social media get angry and demand you to remove somebody. You cannot just be like immediately, okay, you're removed. You shouldn't be bending the knee that fast. You should go like, okay, if there is that accusation, we will investigate. You cannot give in to requests for immediate responses. Everything needs to be investigated, especially if you're just became the leader.
Newspapers online, why are they still standing as your candidate?
I inherited a start-up party. Remember, I've been doing this.
Why are they still standing as your candidates?
Well, they're not. They've been disowned. In most cases, they've been disowned. With people like Lily honestly, what he said is criminal.
So why is it your...
So what he said is criminal. I don't agree with Nigel here. How is saying something criminal? So it's like he's condemning them even more than he has to.
Candidate.
Wrong. I have no idea why this man...
You are the leader.
I wasn't the
leader. You are now.
He's like, you are the leader. Yeah, well, I just got here. Like, and look at the crowd laughing. I just got here, lady. What do you think happens when you become the leader of a party? Do you think that as soon as I arrive, everything magically, all the problems just magically disappear? I have to do something about it. Jesus, and the crowd is just laughing.
I inherited this. It was a start.
Guys, please like the stream.
Start party. I paid a professional London vetting company to weed this out. The work wasn't done. We're a startup, and all startups, whether they're business or political parties, get wrong uns in the end.
Well, now I've pointed it out to you. Are you going to withdraw your support from these people?
I wouldn't want anything to do with them.
Withdraw my support? Like, he's already made that. He's like, are you going to withdraw your support for them? I just called them criminals. I just called the person a criminal. What kind of a question is that? All right, so now let's go to the second question they ask him.
Just have a question about being a paid actor. You also run you are online on a website called Cameo, where you'll record paid shorts of you doing roasts or pep talks for people. I was just wondering, your cheapest ones you do are £70. If I paid you £70 now, would you admit that this country would be nothing without our rich history of immigration?
Well, I tell you what. And this is what's gone wrong.
What a weird way to ask a question. Just ask, why do you have to be so insulting? And if I paid you £70, just ask your question. Just be like, do you think immigrants have been enriching this country or not? If I paid you £70, would you be able to do what? Like, what a bad faith way of, you just look, and people clap. You just sound like a a-hole. Like, you just sound like, oh my God. Why would she ask it like that? This is so annoying, and people in the crowd love it. I don't understand this. Listen to this.
Actor.
They're like, oh, you've been a paid actor. What if I paid you because you don't mean it? So let me pay you so you could at least act it. What the hell? Shut up, lady. What a demeaning way of asking.
I wouldn't want anything to do with them.
I just have a question about being a paid actor. You also run you are online on a website called Cameo where you'll record paid shorts of you doing roasts or pep talks for people. I was just wondering, your cheapest ones you do are £70. If I paid you £70 now, would you admit that this country would be nothing without our rich history of immigration?
Well, I tell you what.
The way she's asking it is basically saying, I don't have any logical points to make. I don't have any sound reasoning for my arguments. So let me just be insulting and annoying because I'm sure the crowd would love that and clap for that. That's basically what she's saying.
Oh, I'll tell you what.
So Alfred is here. Thank you so much, Alfred, for being here. Alfred is now going to be highlighting your comments in the live chat. So guys, please add your comments and your opinions so that they could be part of the stream. Thank you for being here, Alfred. So let's see how Nigel responds.
Tell you what. And this is what's gone wrong. Because you talk about immigration, and it ran from after the war up until the millennium.
So basically, here's the thing. Here's what I think he's going to say. He said, like, of course, immigration enriches your country, okay? But how much of it and from where? People don't understand that when you're taking a position against mass migration, you're not denying that some level of immigration is good for your country if it's limited and selective. This lady is just doing a straw man. But like, hey, can you basically not RAPE our country? Can you guys be more selective with your immigration, who you're bringing in, and also in lower numbers? Like, oh, you guys are denying how great immigration could be for your country? Like, no, I'm not, but not like this. Not like this. It's kind of like somebody drowning in water, and like they're raising your hand, like, hey, I'm drowning, I'm dying here. Can you get me out? And like, are you denying how vital water is for living? Like, yeah, water is vital for living, but right now I'm drowning in it. Can you please get me out of here? Like, you are denying that we all need water to stay alive. Can you accept the importance of water in our life and how it is the essence of life itself? Like, okay, I'm dead now. Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking these questions. Like, what the hell? That's what basically is happening here. Listen. Let's see what Nigel says. Oh, what happened?
And this is what's gone wrong. Because you talk about immigration, and it ran from after the war up until the millennium at net 30 to 40,000 a year. And yes, it worked. In fact, we had the most successful immigration policies of any country in the whole of Europe, no question. Now, it is so totally out of control. Just think about this. 2.5 million people have come in the last 2 years. You wonder why you can't get a house. You wonder why your rents have gone up 25% in 4 years. You wonder why our infrastructure is struggling. You wonder why we have to build a new house every 2 minutes just to cope with the numbers. And that's the issue. It's now running at numbers that are literally unimaginable and are diminishing the quality of life of everybody in this country. And frankly, this should be the biggest issue of this election.
Yeah, perfectly said. But there's two things. It's not just the size, it's also who. Okay? Yeah, immigration might help your country if you bring in the right type of people. Right? Selective, based on the country's need, limited, but also filtered. Like, so Nigel was mentioning maybe it's like that crowd is not a good crowd to mention this, but yeah, we want to reduce the number, not to completely cancel it. Obviously, there needs to be exchange of people, That's good for every society, but in much, much, much lower numbers. But also, I don't think that crowd would have appreciated this. Also, we want to bring in better people, maybe not from Islamic countries, for example. I don't think that crowd would appreciate anything like that. But yeah, so let's go to this one. Okay, so this one is response to, another response to Rishi Sunak saying like the reform people are racist and bigots, right? So he sees the ones who are maybe racist or bigots, but he doesn't see this. This is a Muslim a Muslim entrepreneur who donated to Reform UK. So let's listen to this.
Welcome back to Vote 2024 with me, Camilla Tominey. Now, joining me now in the studio is Muslim entrepreneur Zia Yusuf, who co-founded the luxury concierge brand Velocity Black. And then you sold it last year, I believe, for £233 million. You've made a large donation to Reform and you had backed the Conservatives, but now you're backing Nigel Farage's party. So I suppose the obvious question, first of all, Zia, if you don't mind me calling you that, is why?
Yeah, so look, just to be clear, I was a Tory voter and a Tory member. I've never donated to any political parties before. Look, the simple answer for why I've done what I've done is, first and foremost, I'm British. I'm incredibly proud to be British. I owe so much to this country, and I feel very strongly that British values are actually the reason why so many people want to come here. Britain has welcomed millions of immigrants of all races, of all faiths over the years, and welcomed them wholeheartedly. The reality is that I don't see enough people making a full-throated, wholehearted celebration and protection of British values. I think that's really important. And by the way, those British values are things like freedom of religion, freedom of speech, love of country, equality before the law, innocence, the presumption of innocence. These are actually incredibly rare things historically, and things I think Britain should be really rather proud of. So.
I mean, the Conservative Party would argue that they do protect those.
So this is fantastic. So you see how I keep telling you guys that the battle is between British values or Western liberal values and Islamic values. The battle is not between Muslims and non-Muslims. The battle could be within each Muslim as well. So within each Muslim, if you can substitute Islamic values and the Islamic identity and the Islamic sense of belonging with a nationalist, patriotic sense of identity and a sense of belonging, and an appreciation more for Western liberal values over Islamic values, that's also a win. That's a huge win. In fact, that's going to be the majority of our win. The majority of our win is not going to be just turning Muslims into non-Muslims. The majority of that is the most extreme version of our victory, of our win. That's good. We should welcome that. But a higher bulk of our win is going to be changing the direction and the focus and the sense of belonging and the sense of identity of each Muslim away from Islamic ones towards more nationalistic ones. For you to feel more British than Muslim, for you to feel more French than Muslim, for you to feel your sense of identity and the community and the groups that you belong to more in line with your national identity, for you to brag about secularism or democracy or the or the equality before the law, or all the other, or freedom of speech, freedom of expression. If you keep bragging about these values over Islamic values, even if you are labeled as a Muslim, we are still winning. We are basically making you less Islamic. Again, I always say there is no such thing as a good Islam and bad Islam. There is only bad Islam. There is good Muslims and bad Muslims. Okay, we have good Muslims and we have bad Muslims, but then we don't have good Islam and bad Islam. It's only bad Islam. And good Muslims are Muslims who are less Islamic. Okay, Islam is less. It's a less of an influential factor in their mind and in their life. And we see an example of that. This is a Muslim who is more proud and more in line with British values and is supporting that. This shows that that's possible, and it shows that this is what we should be aiming for. Again, not that we don't. Here's what I also say: you cannot reform Islam. Islam will always be evil. Islam will always be bad. You can reform Muslims, but you cannot reform Islam. Islam is not. In fact, Islam should not be reformed, because reforming Islam is a defense mechanism which makes this evil ideology last longer. We should not let Islam reform, because that is its way. It's a survival methodology. It's a way for it to remain longer with us and cause more harm, right? But just because I say we cannot reform Islam, it doesn't mean that we cannot reform Muslims. Every Muslim is a mix of different ideas and different influences and different views, and some of it is Islam, but most of it is not. We are trying to get Muslims who have their views and their behavior 80% impacted by Islam, to go to being Muslims who their views and opinions and behavior is influenced 2% or 1% by Islam. So this
should be.
But look how he lists the liberal, like he doesn't just say liberal values, like he knows them and he lists them. This is great.
Country, and I feel very strongly that British values are actually the reason why so many people want to come here. Britain has welcomed millions of immigrants of all races, of all faiths over the years, and welcomed them wholeheartedly. The reality is that I don't see enough people making a full-throated, wholehearted celebration and protection of British values. I think that's really important. And by the way, those British values are things like freedom of religion, freedom of speech, love of country, equality before the law, innocence, the presumption of innocence. These are actually incredibly rare things historically, and things I think Britain should be really rather proud of. So,
I mean, the Conservative Party would argue that they do protect those freedoms.
Mm-hmm. Look, my issue with the Conservative Party is simply
they're not. Yeah, they don't. It's something to claim it, and there's another thing to do it.
That they are so divided. So if you just look at them now going to the election, I think this is an objective statement. They are so divided that I simply don't see how they can govern effectively.
And I suppose if we look at your kind of life story, your CV on.
Can you start that so I could? Okay, let me just respond to it right now. Hans Archive is saying, Armin, ask him, would he choose Britain over Islam? Then you'll get the sense of your falsehood. Okay, you have no idea what you're talking about, Hans Archive, because I do ask people that, okay? And I have met most. So how do you know the answer? Do you claim to know the answer? Are you assuming that you will never get the answer that you think somebody will choose their British identity over their Islamic identity? So do you think that when you ask this of a Muslim, you will always get the same response? So do you think that among all these people that there is always going to be the same answer? Because maybe unlike you, I have actually asked many Muslims this very question, and I have got many different responses, right? So there's a couple of different responses that you will get to that. I have seen Muslims who say that, yes, my American identity is stronger in me than my Muslim identity. So I have met those types of Muslims. So you cannot say that they do not exist. But there's also the difference between what you say and the way you feel. So if you look at, for example, a Muslim, let's say, for example, an American Muslim, you look at their life and you look at their views, right? And you see that they are living non-Islamic lives, and they are actively with actions and in behavior more in line with American values more than Islamic values. But then if you ask them that, sometimes they would feel like they have to say that they would choose Islam over America, not because they think that, but because it's such a taboo thing to say otherwise. It might not reflect actually their behavior and their values, but it's just something. For example, let me give you an example, right? Let's say, for example, a mother loves one of her children more than the other ones, and you could see that, and you could feel that. Anyone can see that. Like, let's say their first son, she loves her first son more than the other sons, okay? But if you ask her that, do you say, like, do you love her? Do you love your son, this son, more than the other ones? She will never say yes. She will say, no, I love them all equally. But you can see in her action and her behavior that she loves the first one more. But it's such a taboo thing to say that I love this son more than the other ones, that she would never say that. So there are many Muslims who, in effect, are living non-Islamic lives, and they're being patriotic, and they love their country, and they have liberal values. But if you actually ask them that, sometimes they feel pressured to say, no, obviously Islam comes first. So, but also there are many Muslims who will say, no, Islam does come first. So it's a spectrum. You guys looking at this as black and white. Life is not that simple. People are different. People are not like each other. If you want to win the battle against Islam, you cannot play a black and white game. This is a gradual win. If you play this game, if you fight this battle as black and white, then you're going to lose, because there are so many wins in the middle that you're going to ignore because it's not good enough for you. And you are going to lose to Islam, because Islam is smart enough to fight a gradual battle against you, to dominate you, and you are not being smart enough to fight back a gradual battle like Islam is. So because you have a black and white mindset, you will lose. You will not see these other trenches, because you're trying to win different wars, different battles, to eventually win the ultimate war. So you have to get this trench and this trench eventually to win the entire battle. But you're ignoring that. You're like, all or none. That's the recipe for failure. Oh, thank you, Dee.
On paper, the son of migrant parents who came here, and then you're born in this country.
So let's go here. Let's go back.
And I suppose if we look at your kind of life story, your CV on paper, the son of migrant parents who came here, and then you're born in this country, or indeed in Scotland, I believe. You're educated at private school. You then become an investment banker at Goldman Sachs. On paper, especially as a man of colour, you would probably be seen to have more in common with Rishi Sunak than Nigel Farage.
Well, look, in terms of my own personal history, my parents.
On paper, like, why? Because you're saying, you know what that lady is saying, you're a son of immigrants, you're like, I don't know, dark skin or whatever. You seem to be more like, why are you supporting Nigel Farage? You seem to be more like Rishi Sunak, because your perception is skin deep. Okay, you're saying ethnicity and country of origin and skin color instead of values. This man is focusing on values. You're focusing on ethnicity. Okay, so this is your problem, right? And by the way, the people who are in live chat who are telling me that no, Armin, what you're saying is impossible, it's right. Like, what are you talking about? It's right in front of you. This man is a Muslim, okay, is the son of immigrants who's donating to Reform Party. Like, no, Armin, they might say that, but that's not actually their values. He's putting his money where his mouth is. He's donating his own money to Reform. So you're like, no, you're telling me that's impossible. I'm playing a video for you to show that that's possible.
Came here 40 odd years ago. They came here with nothing really to their name other than a newly minted medical degree. They have since both, between them, given almost half a century, in fact more than half a century of service to our NHS. So again, nobody knows or feels more strongly than I do about the contribution that immigrants can make and have made to this country. And by the way, I got a 50% scholarship to go to that private school.
Yeah, so see, this is a person who's not dealing in black and white. Migration can be good, but I'm supporting a party that is limiting it, because migration is horrible when it's not done right. When it's done with mass migration without any filtering or selection.
And both my parents had to work 2 jobs to get there. And so, for example, if there were VAT payable on those fees, I simply wouldn't have been able to go. It would have stretched my parents too far. So I'm incredibly grateful for all of those opportunities. And look, I think right now we as a country have to play the ball where it is on the field. And I think that this is an incredibly challenging time. Having co-founded and run a business, I know how vital it is that to stare really challenging problems in the face and make difficult decisions, have difficult conversations, and do that in a timely fashion. If you fail to do those things, if you have a credit card debt and you simply don't open the mail and hope the whole thing goes right, that doesn't help. At some point, those chickens come home to roost. And if you look at in the mid-1980s, when my parents came to this country, net migration into the country was around 50,000 people a year. That is a manageable number. It doesn't place enormous undue stress on public services, and it also allows those new arrivals, such as my parents, to assimilate comfortably. That number last year was 650,000.
Yes.
So this is a conversation, again, about British values, which can be adhered to and are adhered to, by the way, of people of all races and all faiths. That's really important. This idea that when we talk about British values, only a certain race can subscribe to those values, I think is totally incorrect. I hope.
Yeah, see, it's about values. It's about having the proper values, Western liberal values rather than Islamic values. It's not about your ethnicity. It's about having the proper values. And it's impossible for you to get people to have the right values when you're bringing in, they're not going to assimilate if you bringing them in such high numbers. In fact, it's going to be reverse assimilation. They're going to make you assimilate to their values.
That people can see that and proof that that's not the case. And by the way, that is, I believe, how the vast majority of immigrants in this country are. They're patriots and they care deeply about this country.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because this idea that...
Yeah, see, here's the thing. If you make coming to your country hard and difficult and selective, then the people who make it, right, you should make it... It's going to be easier to make it the people who are wanting to come here, not because they're going to take advantage of your system. That you're going to make it so that the people who are coming here because your country is in line, their values and the direction is in line with who they are and what they want and what values they have, right? You're not going to be able to filter that if you're bringing them in such high numbers. You're going to be people who are coming here to just take. They're not coming for your values. They're going to come for your taking advantage, to suck at everything that they can from your welfare system and just leave the rest of you, with the bill. That's what they're here for.
Immigrants themselves might be worried about more immigration is something that probably isn't explored thoroughly enough. We witnessed this during the Brexit campaign. I remember going up to Grantham, Margaret Thatcher's old seat, and speaking to Polish people who were worried about an influx of Romanians. In your case, is immigration, or the lack of control of immigration by the Conservatives over the last 14 years, the main motivating factor for you for switching to reform?
It's one of...
Yeah, especially a lot of immigrants came here because this was a great country and they want to keep it a good country, and they're here now and they're like, okay, can you stop bringing in the people who are themselves immigrant? They're like, okay, we came here because this is a great country. Can you not bring this many people because it's going to stop being a great country that we came here for?
Several motivating factors. I do think it's a vitally important issue. If we cannot even secure our borders, we spent more than £50 billion on defence last year, and we cannot secure our borders, and we're an island. This is unacceptable. And if a party has been in power for 14 years, look, I actually think Rishi Sunak does actually believe what he's saying sincerely. I actually do believe that. But I'm sorry, we have to judge them on their track record because they've been in power for 14 years. And actually, to solve this problem, I do think it takes a lot of courage. I think it takes boldness. It takes decisiveness. Frankly, it also takes a unified party who are going to support him. And, the other point on that about immigration is...
Look, he's wearing a British flag pin. There are many non-immigrants, native British people who are leftists who will wave around a Palestinian flag, but you will never see them with a British flag. Okay, but this immigrant has a British, a UK flag pin.
You create a perverse incentive structure. I don't think these nuanced conversations are had enough, as you say. So if you have come here as a legal migrant, and we can have a separate conversation about the numbers there, but the reality is you've come here legally, you've played by the rules, you've jumped through the hoops to do it. And then you see people who cross the channel illegally from France. And they get treated exactly the same way. You create a perverse
especially
incentive
if you've
structure.
paid for visas, thousands of pounds, and all
Thousands of pounds. And again, if you've contributed to the British tax system, you pay taxes all your life, again, regardless of your race, your religion, too often these conversations are boiled down into these oversimplifications. I think people feel a deep sense of injustice there. And actually, a sense of fair play is one of those British values I'm talking about.
Just briefly, Zia, because we're running out of time, as is ever the case. It's always on this show because we have to cram in so much into an hour. There has been some criticism of Nigel Farage and indeed Reform candidates' rhetoric around Muslims. What's your response to that criticism?
Well, look, I think Nigel Farage, if you look at what he actually says and not the projections that people put on what he says. I sincerely believe, this is my opinion, and I historically have been a reasonably good judge of character, which is why I've had some success in business, for example, is that he wants what is best for British people, regardless of their faith, regardless of their race. That is my sincere view. You know, with regards to the candidates, look, clearly candidates have made some appalling remarks, which I think we can all condemn those remarks. Let's not forget, Reform is a startup. Reform is an 100-year-old party, and they had to stand up 650 candidates in like 2 weeks. As someone, again, who's started a business myself...
You know how difficult that is.
I know how that is, and you can't maintain quality at 100% when you do it. I actually think, despite the fact that those were appalling remarks, and Nigel has, by the way, repudiated those, I actually think they've done a pretty good job overall of standing up those candidates. And as I said, Reform is a startup. They're going to grow as a political force.
Can I be so bold and rude as to ask you how much money you've given Reform?
It was meaningful. It's in the hundreds of thousands of pounds, and that is testament to how important this is and how strongly I feel about it.
All right, Zia Yusuf, lovely to meet you, and thank you very much for coming into the studio tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
That's big for a hundreds of thousands of pounds is huge for a political party. That's amazing. People who say like, oh, why are these racist candidates not just gone already? These are people who haven't managed a lemonade stand probably even in their entire lives. They don't understand how these processes work. They don't like, oh, just wave your magic wand and just whoop, this will disappear. I mean, look at the position. There's nothing. The main leaders of this party, have they taken a position that you could label as racist? I was shocked to see that not only Reform, even if you go in France and Germany, the main leaders, not only the main leaders do not have those positions, they take immediate action within their party, like as immediate as they could, not as immediate as like within seconds. Every time they have somebody within their party that says actual racist things, not racist things like, oh, we need less immigration, which is not racist at all. Not things like, oh, we can't bring migrants from Islamic countries, which is not racist at all. This is actually defending your nation state. But the people within those parties that when they actually do racist things, right? The so-called far-right parties in France and Germany, and Italy, they actually take action. They take immediate action to remove those guys. So why don't you judge them based on the main leaders and what they stand for, instead of the handful of people within them that have some maybe racist or bigoted views? We got a super chat and some other views about. I'm going to go to this next video soon. Let me bring this up actually, by Keir Starmer regarding Islamophobia. But before I do that, let me just acknowledge this super chat. Thank you so much. They're saying in the UK, Qadri was arrested and British soldiers stabbed. Okay, okay, thank you for that. Thank you so much for that super chat. Let me actually look at some of these comments. Is he a Muslim though? Okay, so let me actually bring this back on the screen, because this is what we're talking about, right? You guys who follow Atheist Republic, you guys should know the answer to these questions, right? So is he a Muslim though? That's what I don't understand. As a Swede, I'm a nominal Christian, but I probably wouldn't be representative of Christians. So abandon the title. Why not the same with Muslim? Okay, so first of all, you just said you're a nominal Christian, so you haven't abandoned the title, even though you don't represent Christians. So here's the thing: we have to use words the way they are intended to be used, based on their definition, right? Is he a Muslim? Yes, he's a Muslim, because the definition of a Muslim, both within Islam or outside of Islam, does not require you to follow Islamic rules. The definition of a Muslim is somebody who self-IDs as a Muslim, believes in Allah, Muhammad, and the Quran, even if he hasn't read the Quran, as long as he just believes that the Quran is the word of God. You don't even have to follow it. You don't even have to follow the rules. Within Islam, even that's not the definition that you have to follow the rules. Within Islam, if you don't follow the rules, you are a Muslim. You're just a sinning Muslim, but you're still a Muslim, right? So again, we have, the way I look at it, we have nominal Muslims, we have minimalist Muslims, we have conservative Muslims, we have reformist Muslims, but they're all Muslim. So yes, he is a Muslim. Let me see. Black Thanos is saying, so are you saying all Muslims are bad? No, I'm not. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying all Islam is bad. How can you? Why is it so hard for you guys to separate Islam from Muslims? Okay, Islam is purely evil. All Islam is bad. Muslims, we have good Muslims and we have bad Muslims, right? The better of a Muslim you are, the less you take Islam seriously in your life. And here's another Murray saying he's probably an apostate. No, you guys are just unfamiliar with the diversity among Muslims. You guys study Islam and you recognize how evil and barbaric and evil Islam is, and you have a black and white mindset, and you think like, okay, that means all Muslims are the same. Muslims are not robots. It's not like the Quran is a code that you just that you just shove into every Muslim and they just like follow it perfectly. They don't follow it perfectly. Most Muslims don't follow Islam perfectly, right? So you are just unfamiliar with the diversity within Muslims. Islam is purely evil, because it's easier to generalize Islam because it's, it basically comes down to Muhammad and the Quran. If you study the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet, you could generalize. It's easy to generalize because you're not talking about a huge set of different views and a wide group of people. So I feel comfortable to generalize Islam because it's just basically a handful of books and call it all evil, right? But you cannot do that with all Muslims because Muslims are diverse. Unstart this. Levantix is saying, I know I'm repetitive, but isn't he by all reasonable accounts ex-Muslims? No, because you think a Muslim who's not taking Islam seriously is not an ex-Muslim. For you to be an ex-Muslim, you actually have to stop believing in, either have to come and announce that you're no longer a Muslim, or you actually have to not believe in one of the main articles of faith. If you say, for example, I don't believe the Quran is the word of God. I don't believe Muhammad was the prophet of Allah. I don't believe in God, or I don't believe Allah is God, right? These will make you an ex-Muslim. You not living an Islamic life does not make you an ex-Muslim. Because if even according to Islam, that doesn't make you an ex-Muslim. Because if you following Islam, for you to be a Muslim, you have to follow all Islamic rules. That means there's no sinning Muslim. Islam doesn't tell you that Muslims don't sin. Carl is saying many third-generation immigrants in Germany are anti-immigration. Yep, that's exactly right. Ricky is saying it's harder to screen for bad migrants when they're coming in such large numbers. Exactly, good point. Vikram saying, Armin, would you support refusing conservative Christians from seeking immigration to liberal country? Well, we're not anybody who you have to have a value check. Okay, so when it comes to other people that do not have values that are in line with your country, you could do individually. You don't have to be like, oh, we're not letting in conservative Muslims, right? But because migrants from Islamic countries are such a problem in such high numbers, I cannot afford to do individual checks. Okay, I will just stop migrations from Islamic countries in total, except very rare cases where I don't have to do much investigation to know that this person is not going to be a problem, right? But for other groups of people, because they're not a problem for my country in such mass numbers, then I could do individual checks. and judge them individually to see if their values are in line with my country before I let them in. All right, so that's that. Let's go to... Yeah, Lisa, yeah. Okay, so let's go to this video. What is the context of this video before we play it? This is Keir Starmer. No. Wait, this is Keir. Oh, yeah, this is Keir Starmer saying Rishi Sunak hasn't got the backbone to call out Islamophobia. Wow. And this is your prime minister now? So let's watch this.
Islamophobia is something which should be called out by every political leader. And the Prime Minister isn't calling it out because he's too weak. I don't think anybody can make excuses for this Prime Minister and say it's all too difficult. It's very straightforward. He lacks the backbone to call this out for what it is because he's leading a divided party, a chaotic party.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't even know what to say to this. This is so insane. God damn it. How could the word Islamophobia is by itself. I mean, people here in the live chat already, I hope you guys know how insane the word Islamophobia is, right? How could you not be anti-Islam if you're defending British values? I mean, Islamophobic is just insane because phobia is for irrational fear. To fear Islam is not irrational, right? To fear Islam is logical, especially if you are trying to defend British values. It's not Rishi Sunak that doesn't have a backbone. You just don't have, I don't know, do you think these people have studied Islam? Do they know what they're talking about? Like, do you think he understands what he talks about? Like, anybody with the most basic research, if you have a basic understanding of what British values are, and if you have the most basic understanding of what Islamic values are, then number two, and number three, if you claim to be somebody who defends British values, and then if you notice how at odds Islamic values are with British values, then to defend British values, you have to take a strong stance against Islamic values. Why do you want to call out Islamophobia? As a defender of British values, you should be supporting Islamophobia. I don't understand this. This is so basic. I mean, I don't think as a politician, I don't want you to support an anti-Islamic stance because I want you to be secular. But don't say stupid, like leave that for us. Leave that for the citizens to be Islamophobic. You just get the hell out of this arena. Like, if this is not your place, you just create a fair battlefield for us for ideas to compete with each other in security and safety and security and fairness, and just shut the hell up. I don't know. I'm assuming that these people want to fight against anti-Muslim bigotry, but what ends up happening is that instead of fighting anti-Muslim bigotry, they come and defend Islam. That's the problem with the word Islamophobia. And this is a nice little trick here, right? Because this is why the word Islamophobia is such a huge problem for us. And here's the thing. You have to admire your enemy here, guys. Because a lot of you act like Islam is idiotic, and it is actually. But the strategic way for how Islam dominates and spreads is actually genius. And if you don't recognize that, you are going to lose. You have to understand where your enemy actually is being strategic. Because if you just point and cry and be like, I don't like that, then that's not an effective strategy. And you have to understand how strategic the word Islamophobia is, right? Because these are people, these politicians are supposed to be politicians with a liberal mindset. All of them, because I know a lot of people think liberal means leftist, but no, you are living in the age of liberalism. Ever since the French Revolution, this is all of this, from the conservatives, from Nigel Farage to Rishi Sunak to all of the Labour conservatives, reform, every single one of them are living within the framework of modern liberal republicanism. This is the entire framework of all Western countries, right? And as liberal politicians, what they're supposed to be doing, one of the main ideas, one of the main foundations of ideas, is to defend people from all diverse groups of people, right? Minorities, and to fight for freedom of expression, freedom of religion, and all of that. But look how that mindset is being taken advantage of, and it's very. I will tell you what's happening here, and I need you to pay attention, right? So when you have bigotry and racism, leaders of liberal countries are supposed to come and take a stance against that. But this form of bigotry or racism, instead of calling it anti-Muslim bigotry, they call it Islamophobia. And that is by design. Because what Islam does effectively, just like many other religions, is that it takes advantage of the misery of its adherents, of the people that belong to that religion, like the misery of Muslims. So Islam sacrifices Muslims. You could see that how Hamas uses the blood of Palestinians to further its cause, right? Islam doesn't protect Muslims. Islam uses Muslims. Islam sacrifices Muslims. So it takes advantage of the misery and the blood and tears of Muslims to spread the virus of Islam. I'm talking metaphorically as if Islam is a conscious being. Because it's a meme, it acts like a conscious being, even if it's not, right? So the Islamic virus tries to sacrifice Muslims, so it wants Muslims to be discriminated against. Islam wants Muslims to feel a sense of bigotry and racism and alienation. That's good for Islam. It puts them in front, tries to make them, poke so that you get a reaction, and eventually they feel the pushback from the society, and it uses that to cry out, not in defense of its Muslim, but to cry out Islamophobia. And because it lives, this virus is spreading. So this is a virus that notices its environment and tries to use whatever tools this environment provides for it as a way to spread the virus. So when this virus is spreading in a liberal society, it notices its sensitivities. So this is a country, the liberal country is a country that is very sensitive to bigotry. So it will signal that hey, bigotry is happening here, and it now wants something to be done. But when it comes, so the liberal politician is now paying attention. Yes, I am supposed to fix this. So tell me what I could do to fix this. So other minority groups will come and we want to stop this bigotry. Okay, so let's stop it. What can we do to stop this bigotry? But here's the similarity between Islam and wokeism. Wokeism and Islam, they use the bigotry, and when the politician comes to you and asks, well, how can I fix this? Instead of other groups, they were like, well, you could help me spread my ideology. And this is why they don't call it anti-Muslim bigotry. This is why I call it Islamophobia, because it's not the attack on the Muslim that needs to be corrected. It's Islam that is, even though the Muslim was attacked, you don't want to defend the Muslim. You want to spread Islam. You call it Islamophobia. The attack on the Muslim is now being translated to attack on Islam, the ideology, not the person. So the politician will come to you and you're like, let me have more mosques. This is Islamophobia. Oh, if we call it Islamophobia, the solution is to help Islam, not help Muslims, but help Islam. So what do? Let's make more mosques. Let's spread Islam more. Let's do more education about why Islam is good. So I'm not stopping the bigotry. In fact, this is actually going to increase the bigotry. I am just spreading Islam more. So let's have more Muslims hurt. So the politicians come to me, they bend the knee. More Muslims are angry. More Muslims are shouting, and this is the voting bloc. Let's come to the leaders of the community, and the leaders of the community will ask you to spread Islam more, not to protect Muslims. And here's the problem. The Muslim community will be okay with that. Why? Because they have been trained to care about Islam more than they care about Muslims. So even if the politicians come and say like, okay, the politicians are not asking us what we want. What do we want? The Muslims in the community were like, okay, well, let's have more Islam. Well, how is that going to help you? That's not going to help. That's actually going to increase anti-Muslim bigotry. Let's build more mosques. Let's spread the Quran. Let's have more Islamic ceremonies in the streets. That is not going to stop anti-Muslim bigotry. But that's okay. The politicians are listening to me because there's anti-Muslim bigotry. I care about Islam more than I care about myself anyways. So let's spread Islam. That's the trick. This is how the virus is taking advantage of the Muslims themselves. Let me show you another thing by Starmer here to show you how defending Muslims actually turns out to translate to defending Islam. Right?
Today I'm here at London Central Mosque, and I'd like to send my warmest wishes, devotion, and renewed strength. It's a time to celebrate the strong sense of community as people gather together in mosques and community spaces to share iftar meals with their neighbours. With my
you're support, like, how's this going to help?
Leadership, a future Labour government will stand up for the rights of Muslims and work to ensure Muslim communities feel safe, secure, and respected. This is part of my contract with the British people, guided by the principles of security, prosperity, and respect.
Yeah, so help them feel more secure by building more mosques, supporting the advertisement of their ideology in the country. That's not going to do it, right? You're not supporting Islam. You're not supporting Muslims. You're supporting Islam. You're helping the spread of Islam. This is why I'm telling you guys that the anti-Muslim, if you are aggressive towards Muslims, you are actually helping Islam, because that's what they want. Because the more that happens, the more they have that in their pocket, the more they will use that to get favors from the favors from the politicians, and they will use that favor to spread Islam even stronger. So this video that I showed you shows how your prime minister sees these as a voting bloc, and a powerful voting bloc. It's when you see messages like this, that shows that this is a community that will have influence in your country's politics. What do you think the Muslim leaders who have these politicians' ear will ask them for? What do you think they will ask them for? They will ask them for things that will spread Islam more than things that will help Muslims. And again, I showed you this video to see how much this voting bloc is taking seriously. And it doesn't have to be the majority. A lot of people are like, oh, Islam is going to take over the UK. No, you're going to be screwed way before that. You could get screwed. Your way of life, your values will be attacked from within with 6% or 7% of the population, because this is a very politically active member of your society now. And people are like, deport. These are UK citizens. You have to come up with better solutions. You cannot deport these people. The only solution, tell me, the people here who don't believe in my ways, you have to be friendly to these people to try to win them to the British way of life. And you don't like that because you're angry. When I say that, a lot of you don't like that because you are angry, and your anger now needs to be directed towards these Muslims. And that actually helps Islam. If you direct your anger towards the individual Muslims, Islam will grow faster. And you don't like it when I tell you that you actually need to approach these people and make them feel more British because you're disgusted by them. But that is going to, if you do not agree with what I'm saying as that's the solution, tell me what your plan is. Okay, sure. You don't like my plan. Like, oh, Armin, I'm so angry with these people. I don't want to even talk to them. I don't want to have anything to do with them. Okay, what's your plan? Deport UK citizens? Go ahead. Let me see. Let me see if you will win that battle. And once you fail, come back here and let's fight Islam my way. Okay? So Gigi is saying, make them feel more British? Are you nuts? No, I'm not nuts. I just showed you a video that was possible. You are nuts. That's your only way. If you think I'm nuts, if you think that reducing Islam in the minds of Muslims is not the only way, well, not the only way, but if that's not the main way, give me your solution. Are you just going to give up? Because it seems like you are here. Like, there's nothing we can do. So Gigi thinks you're screwed. Gigi is saying like you guys are fucked. Just if you think that you want to stand up and fight for your country against Islam, and you don't want to give up, then join me here. If you actually think that even if there is no way, I'm not going to go down without a fight. I'm going to take a stand. I'm going to try to defend my country. Okay, this country is actually worth protecting, right? Then join me if you don't want to give up like Gigi. But also, if you think my way is not the right way, tell me your solution. Because you have none. By the way, some people are saying, Armin, why are you against deporting? I'm not against deporting. Deport as many people as you can. Deport as many people as you can. I'm saying there's many of them that you can't deport. People are saying, oh, Armin, you seem to be against stopping immigration. I say stop immigration from every single Islamic country. And I'm for deporting every single person with this mindset that you can. I'm for that. But you can't deport all the UK citizens. You cannot do that. It's not your. I'm not saying these solutions. We shouldn't use these solutions. I'm saying it's not complete. Even if tomorrow the immigration stops completely, even if you deport every single resident that is not a citizen in the UK, okay, you're still left with an Islamic problem. These people will have more children than you, and they will still grow, and they already have grown enough to be a major influence in your politics. The citizens that will stay here and will have more children, even without immigration, even with maximum deportation. So that solution is not complete. Okay. By the way, if you guys think like this is completely impossible, these people will remain Muslim for the rest of their lives and stuff, look at Albania. We had a story recently regarding Albania. Albania was a Muslim country. Now look how Islamic it is. Albania has recently, not like back then during the communist era, has had a major shift from Islamic value to nationalistic value, to a national identity. Look at Iran. Look at Albania and know that it's possible. There's no thumbnail on the stream? Okay. Yeah, there seems to be an error with regards to the thumbnail. I will fix it up once the stream is over. Dolly, can you send me the thumbnail on? I think you already sent it to me. So we seem to be having an error with the stream. It's okay. I'll fix it later. This is okay. Let's go to the next video. Let's just play this through. Guys, if you think that what I'm saying makes sense, because a lot of people disagree with me on the live chat on this, but please, if you think that what we're saying here has any value, because I think the way that we're dealing this issue on this channel is a lot more nuanced than many other channels, right? If you agree with me, please like the stream. Please leave a comment after the stream is over. Please recommend Atheist Republic to your friends and enemies and everyone else, because this channel needs to grow. I think what we advocate here on this channel is a lot more detailed, a lot more nuanced, and a lot more realistic than many other channels. Many channels are either on one side saying like, oh, this is bigotry, like saying being anti-Islam is hateful, and then we have on the other side people who are like, just deport, just keep shouting deport and thinking that if I say deport enough times, then this problem is going to go away. And then we have some other group of people who are like, yeah, we're fucked and there's nothing we can do about it. So I think here this channel is a channel that is actually understands Islam, understands liberal values, has a nuanced position, understands what can be done, understand politics enough, and it's not hateful, and actually has the solutions that might work. And even if it doesn't work, it's our best chance. Let me actually see the thumbnail for this channel so I could re-upload it. All right, so let's watch this video.
I think it's Eid Mubarak. Thank you, Keir. It's Eid. It's a really important.
Okay, so this is a video between Sadiq Khan and Rishi, and Starmer. So let's watch this.
I think it's Eid Mubarak. Thank you, Keir. It's Eid. It's a really important time for the Muslim community. So I just wanted to ask you how you and your family actually celebrate Eid.
We all go to the mosque in the morning. We have something sweet to eat in the morning, and then it's a day you spend with your family, visiting family and friends. It's a day of celebration.
Hajj is so important, and many people will be coming back from that.
Well, look, Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Every Muslim who can afford to do so once in a lifetime is required to go to Mecca, and many of your constituents and people across the country have been going to Mecca to perform pilgrimage, and they're returning now after Hajj.
But there is this theme coming up, which is about the problem with visas. And obviously, you know, if we are able to come in and form a government, I think we're going to have to increase the quota. Have you picked this up as well?
The Saudi government has reduced the numbers of people who are able to go to Hajj from this country. So many who want to go, who can afford to go,
and it's such a big and important thing that there's a real frustration that people are not being able to go.
So anything we can do to lobby the Saudi government to get more places for British Muslims would be appreciated.
Because it's Eid, it is also a time, I think, where all of us are able to celebrate the, you know, incredible contribution that Muslims have made to our country. We see it in business, we see it in culture, we see a better Britain. One of the things that is coming up over and over again is Islamophobia. And well, you can see the stats, you can see the numbers rising, particularly since October the 7th. Although we shouldn't fall into the trap of thinking that before October the 7th, this was all heading in the right direction. It's been far too high for far too long. Clearly, we need to just say over and over again, Islamophobia is intolerable. It can never, ever be justified. And we have to continue with a zero tolerance approach. And I think there's more we can do in government. There's certainly stuff online, which I think needs tackling much more robustly than it is at the moment.
What I'm hoping, Keir, is your experience as a prosecutor means you'll be thinking about the strategy we can use to make sure we take action against those who break the law.
It has a massive impact on people and their lives, their feeling about being able to walk around their own, communities, their streets, their places of work or wherever it may be. It is certainly not low level. It really, really impacts people. I've seen so many cases for myself.
What excites me, though, is I've been campaigning across the country. We've got so many Labour candidates who are Muslim, who are Hindu, who are Sikh, who are Jewish, who are Christian. I think, our candidates are the most diverse we've ever had.
It's the best team I think the Labour Party has ever put forward for an election. But look, this is a time of great celebration. And, I do say Eid Mubarak, my friend. And thank you for sharing with me how you celebrate with your family. My very best wishes to you, to the whole Muslim community, and Eid al-Adha.
Thank you, Keir. Thanks very much.
What the hell was that? What the hell was that? Let's go through it line by line. This was insane. Did you hear did they want to make Islamophobia illegal? Is that what they said? What do they think? Okay, guys, can somebody tell me what do these people mean when they say Islamophobia? Okay, because they're using the bigotry against Muslims as an excuse to defend Islam. Why are you like some Muslims are being wronged? Let's stop Islamophobia. So what is Islamophobia? If I insult Prophet Muhammad, is that Islamophobia? If I draw his cartoon, is that Islamophobia? So you want to stop free speech and my opinion against Islam because some Muslims, like, how is that even the same? How is that even the same? So actions against certain Muslims, that is an excuse to limit my opinion against Islam? I don't understand. I don't understand how it is. What do they mean by Islamophobia? Because Islamophobia, their definition of it is any position against Islam. You want to criminalize that? You want to criminalize an opinion, a form of expression? Let's listen to this. Let's go through this line by line.
I think it's Eid Mubarak. Thank you, Keir. It's Eid. It's a really important time for the Muslim community. So I just wanted to ask you how you and your family actually celebrate Eid.
We all go to the mosque in the morning. We have something sweet to eat in the morning, and then it's a day you spend with your family, visiting family and friends. It's a day of celebration.
Hajj is so important, and many people will be coming back from that.
Well, Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Every Muslim who can afford to do so once in a lifetime is required to go to Mecca, and many of your constituents and people across the country have been going to Mecca to perform pilgrimage, and they're returning now after Hajj.
But there is this theme coming up, which is about the problem with visas. And obviously, you know, if we are able to come in and form a government, I think we're going to have to increase the quota. Have you picked this up as well?
Saudi government.
The government wants to help people go to their Hajj. Why? Like, this is like a violation of secularism. This is their own personal thing. Why is my taxpayer money being spent? I mean, it's not mine. I'm just speaking as if I'm a UK citizen. Why is taxpayer money being spent on people's personal religious activities? Like, shouldn't they just deal with that themselves?
It has reduced the numbers of people who are able to go to Hajj from this country. So many who want to go, who can afford to go.
And it's such a big and important thing that there's a real frustration that people are not being able to go.
So anything we can do to lobby the Saudi government to get more places.
Okay, so as a non-Muslim citizen, I'm having a problem. I don't know, making it. I have a trip. I want to go on a trip to Japan, and I'm having some difficulties with that. Can you help me? Like, would you what? Can I get the same level of privilege for government getting involved in making that trip easier for me, or do I have to be a Muslim for you to be involved in making? Why are they getting some privileges, some assistance that other citizens are not with their travel?
For British Muslims would be appreciated.
Because it's Eid, it is also a time, I think, where all of us are able to celebrate the...
I think for the sake of the atheist citizens of the UK, the Labour government in the UK should come and mention the Atheist Republic YouTube channel to UK, because a lot of UK atheists would benefit from this channel, and they should make it easier for people to discover the Atheist Republic YouTube channel in the UK. So I expect, if you're doing these things for Muslims, citizens of the UK, so you should do the same. Guys, we should have some pilgrimage or something outside of the UK. We should have like an Atheist Republic, I don't know, shrine or something somewhere. Maybe let's have it in Hawaii, so we could all go on a trip or somewhere. Okay, so let's go make a shrine in Hawaii for Atheist Republic, and atheists of UK, they should be able to come to that shrine in Hawaii, and your politicians are expected to make that trip easy for you guys and get your whatever you need to get there.
Because it's Eid, it is also a time, I think, where all of us are able to celebrate the incredible contribution that Muslims have made to our country. We see it in business, we see it in culture, we see a better Britain. One of the things that is coming up over and over again is Islamophobia. And, well, you can see...
God, I hate that word so much. God, I hate that word. Guys, you have to admit this is the reason why we hate that word, is because it just works so well to take advantage of the Muslims to spread Islam. And you have to admit the Islamic virus is a very smart one. You cannot underestimate it. It works very well.
The stats, you can see the numbers rising, particularly since October the 7th, although we shouldn't fall.
Yeah, so you have to. Here's the thing: why didn't you mention here that after October 7th, anti-Jewish attacks and anti-Jewish hatred spiked even more than anti-Muslim hatred and attacks, right? So there was a spike in both of them, right? So this video, Starmer is making this video for a Muslim audience to get more votes for them. This is like a very cringe ad video, right? To like, oh, look at me, I'm Eid Mubarak, I care. Oh, are you guys having a problem going to Hajj? Well, that's so bad. We should make it easier for you guys to go to Hajj. What do you do in a mosque? Tell me. Oh, this is such an important time of the year for you guys, isn't it? Oh, that's so nice. Look at me caring bad Muslims. Vote for me, please. Thank you. Okay. So this is all this video is, right? Oh, Islamophobia. Oh, yeah, that's bad. We should stop that somehow, right? That's all. So, but when you're talking about so again, I don't call it Islamophobia. If I want to call to something that is problematic, I will call it anti-Muslim bigotry, because Muslim being targeted is the problem, not Islam. Islam being targeted is good. Muslims being targeted is bad, right? But if I was like looking at the anti-Muslim bigotry and it increasing after October 7th, it's weird for you not to mention the main thing that spiked after October 7th, which was anti-Jewish attacks, right? So usually if you're trying to be a decent person, you were like, of course, we had attacks on Jews and Muslims increasing after October 7th. Like, it's weird that you don't mention that. That's because it spiked so much more. So I don't remember what the numbers were, but it was so much more. Like, if I remember correctly, like anti-Muslim attacks doubled or something, but anti-Jewish attacks was increased by 14 times. I think it was something like that. But you not mentioning that makes me think that you know your audience, okay? So think about this. Starmer knows how anti-Jewish the Muslim community on average is, to not mention that part. You know what you're dealing with. You know what you're dealing with, right? Unbelievable.
But the 7th, although...
Oh, by the way, October 7th, okay, and a day that a lot of the people, a lot of the Muslims, nearly half of the Muslims in the UK would not condemn. The attacks that you're mentioning on October 7th, the half of the people that you're trying to reach to right now do not condemn October 7th.
We shouldn't fall into the trap of thinking that before October the 7th, this was all heading in the right direction. It's been far too high for far too long. Clearly, we need to just say over and over again, Islamophobia is intolerable. It can never, ever be.
Islam is intolerable.
Justified, and we have to continue with a zero tolerance approach.
What do you mean zero tolerance approach? Okay. So obviously you're not fighting anti-Muslim bigotry, you're fighting positions people take against Islam. Zero tolerance means what? Means like Ali Dava and Muhammad Hijab and Smile to Jannah, who are Muslim YouTube channels in the UK, they could come and say whatever hateful thing they want to say against non-Muslims and apostates and Jews and Israelis, and that's okay. But if other UK citizens want to make YouTube videos against Islam, that is Islamophobia. I mean, based on your own definition, that is Islamophobic. If I come and say take positions against Islam and make it a YouTube video in UK, you're going to have zero tolerance against that? So an ideology that tells me that I deserve to die, that I should be killed for leaving Islam, that is tolerated. But me making a video calling that out, that is not tolerated? Is that what? Okay, sure. That makes sense, I guess.
I think there's more we can do in government. There's certainly stuff online which I think needs tackling much more robustly than it is at the moment.
What I'm hoping, Keir, is your experience as a prosecutor.
Look, he's like, this is amazing, okay? Sadiq Khan here, he was like, okay, let's make it clear what not tolerating means. Not tolerating ideas. Oh, the best of liberal values. Like these are proud liberals bragging about not tolerating the expression of ideas. This is peak Enlightenment value. Okay. Okay. This is what Voltaire would have wanted. Okay. Let's not tolerate expression of ideas. Okay, sure. Wow. What has UK become? Voltaire, who was looking at UK, I'm like, yeah, let's be more like that. Let's make France more like UK. Okay. Where is Voltaire now? Okay. This is the country that these Enlightenment values was birthed at, like came from. And now it's falling behind every other liberal country when it comes to actual tolerance. These people have replaced tolerance of ideas with tolerance of skin color and ethnicity.
Can do in government. There's certainly stuff online which I think needs tackling much more robustly than it is at the moment.
What I'm hoping, Keir, is your experience as a prosecutor means you'll be thinking about the strategy we can use to make sure we take action against those who break the law.
There's a massive
Break the law. Oh my God, this is hard. Break the law. This is what they call breaking the law. Okay, so let me show you. Okay. Apparently, this is illegal in the UK now. Okay. Hold on. Let me show you something else that is illegal. So, this is the Quran, right? I'm about to rip a page. Trigger warning. Okay. I'm about to rip a page from the Quran, right? Right? So apparently doing this is illegal in the UK now. Is this Islamophobic? Tell me this. Is this Islamophobic? I got a super chat. Ash is saying, Armin, you're very Islamophobic. I love it. Keep it up. Well, I don't know. Am I guys, is this tolerated in the UK? We get another super chat saying, Armin, I'm sold on your idea as soon as you agree that it applies to mullahs in Iran as well. Well, I do agree with that. So well, thank you for the super chat, but I've never said anything otherwise.
An impact on people and their lives, their feeling about being able to walk around their own, communities, their streets, their places of work or wherever it may be. It is certainly not low level. It really, really impacts people. I've seen so many cases for myself.
What excites me, though, is I've been campaigning across the country. We've got so many Labour candidates who are Muslim, who are Hindu, who are Sikh, who are Jewish, who are Christian. I think, our candidates are the most diverse we've ever had.
It's the best team.
Wow, amazing. Diversity of ethnicity, of religions, but not of actual ideas.
I think the Labour Party has ever put forward for an election. But look, this is a time of great celebration. And, I do say Eid Mubarak, my friend. And thank you for sharing with me how you celebrate with your family. My very best wishes to you, to the whole Muslim community, and Eid al-Adha.
Thank you, Keir. Thanks very much.
Nothing of value actually said here. Nothing that actually even helps Muslims was said here, right? Like, what a waste of time. What a just a political campaign. If I was actually genuinely meeting, like, look, two main important politicians of the UK are meeting with each other, and every single second of a politician is valuable and shouldn't be wasted. This is an opportunity. You're in the same room. There are so many things that you could discuss. Let's say I actually genuinely wanted to help reduce anti-Muslim bigotry. Imagine the things that I would say, the actual data that I would go over, looking at the causes, looking at expert opinions, looking at different sentiments, looking at solutions that actually will help Muslims. If I actually spend this time that we are in the same room together, actually analyzing that, instead of just like, hey, let's just say some meaningless words to try to make Muslims, oh my God. Basically saying things that help nobody, not even the Muslims. Let me see some of the comments Alfred highlighted. Guys, make sure you like the stream. Okay. Levantix is saying, I don't even think it's Muslimophobia. All Middle Easterners, including Christian Arabs, Christian Assyrians, Yazidis, and Alawites, are probably a victim of the suspicion of Middle Easterners Well, depends on the type of person you're meeting that might be bigoted. Some people are bigoted towards any Middle Eastern. Some people are bigoted when they find out that you're Muslim. But again, that's why if there are people who are bigoted towards individual Muslims because of them being Muslims, I don't call that Islamophobic. I think that's dangerous to call it Islamophobic, because it's okay to be anti-Islam. I think it's good to be anti-Islam. I prefer to call it anti-Muslim bigotry. If it is what you're saying, I will call it xenophobia. Carl saying, are you fighting the mullahs in Iran by being nice to them? Yeah, I told this is completely consistent with what I'm saying on this channel. Carl, go look at my Persian channel. You're like, oh, Armin, are you fighting the mullahs in Iran? Like, here, well, yeah. Let me show you. Let me show you, okay? Yeah. Let me see. So, so you think like, oh, Armin, you're not being consistent because you're not being nice to mullahs in Iran for fighting Islam. Well, I have news for you. Okay, look at this. This is me fighting Islam in Iran. روی دیسکورد جمهوری دنیای پس از این زندگی باور داره. And I'm taking on my Persian channel. This is a mullah in Iran. This is my recent. I have many debates like this on my Persian channel, right? So this is me here, and he's talking to me from Iran. And if you actually could understand Persian and you could listen to this debate, my positions on this debate is extremely radically anti-Islamic. Extremely, like, I didn't hold any punches when it comes to how anti-Islamic it was. However, everything I said was in a friendly tone, very polite, very respectful. I thanked him for coming here to the channel. The entire conversation was extremely friendly and conversation. So friendly and respectful doesn't mean that I held back. I didn't hold any punches. I was extremely anti-Islamic. I was extremely radically anti-Islamic, but the entire conversation was very friendly and very respectful, and he very much appreciated it. And actually, he posted this debate on his channel as well, and some people from his channel are now viewers of my channel, consistent viewers of my channel. And if you go look at the comments on his channel, you can see a lot of people. I was saying anti-Islamic things that the viewer of his channel were hearing for the very first time, and they were being thankful of how polite I was during this exchange. But because I was polite, because I was friendly, I managed to get on his channel. And because I was friendly and polite, a lot of the people, a lot of his audience were hearing anti-Islamic views for the very first time. A lot of other Iranians who are anti-Islamic would have never been able to reach his audience because they were very unfriendly towards these kind of people. But I managed to get anti-Islamic content in front of their eyes because I was friendly. So go watch this. بهبود زندگی انسان‌ها هست. این اصلا همه محاسبه رو میریزه به هم. یعنی ببینید ما اگه یه باور اگه So he's listening to me. He's he's understanding what I'm saying. He's understanding what my point is. So you can see there's no aggression here, right? So it is the things that I'm preaching, guys, is the things that I've been trying, and it has gone through trial and error for the past 15 years of my activism. I'm not just making this stuff up. I actually do the work. Okay? So I'm not just making stuff up, guys. All right, so let me see what else you guys are saying. Darko saying we could convince moderate parties to adopt our way of seeing the issue instead of supporting just anyone. Okay. We could, yes, that's another point. Levantex, by the way, that if you speak Persian, the channel that I do my Persian activism, mostly for an Iranian audience, is called Jumhuriye Bi Khodayan. So you could go, if you speak Persian, you could go subscribe to that channel. Levantex is saying Islamic countries need dictators like Shah of Iran, Ataturk, and even Bashar al-Assad before the war. They secularized their countries heavy-handedly, but I'm fine with that. Well, sir, Levantex, I mean, I like the Pahlavis as much as anybody should because they were a great source of influence. But look at their results. At the end of the day, if it's forcefully pressured top down again, so from the top down, maybe at some point it will backfire. I mean, again, I don't want to take a position against the Pahlavis or Ataturk because I really admire both of them and what they were standing for. But at the end of the day, we also have to accept that Iran became an Islamic republic, and Ataturk and Turkey is now becoming more and more Islamic. So we need a better, longer-lasting solution from the bottom up rather than from the top down. Again, I'm not going to dismiss their contributions and everything that those people did for these countries, okay? I'm just saying that the better response is something organic from the bottom. Oh, by the way, we have some super chats that I haven't highlighted. Let me do this one. Ash is saying phobia is an illogical fear of something. Yep, that's what I said. Through lack of knowledge and or exposure to it. We know Islam. We have lived with it, within it. How can we be Islamophobic? Yes, that's what I said. Is the fear of Islam is a rational fear. Completely agree. I mean, I'm a Murtad. Ash is a Murtad. We used to be Muslims. Now we're ex-Muslims. We're atheists. So Islam teaches that me and Ash should be beheaded. We should be beheaded. Is that Islam? Is it? Should I not fear that? I mean, I like my neck. I like to be alive. So, yeah, I mean, I think that being against fearing something that wants to kill you is not phobia. It's a rational fear. Gigi is saying, if you still think you can teach Muslims to embrace your culture by pandering and hoping, who's pandering? Why are you changing my words? Why are you changing my I'm extremely anti-Islamic. Is it pandering for you to take anti-Islamic position? Is it pandering to call Islam a disease? Is it pandering to call Islam one of the greatest evils in the world, if not the greatest evil in the world? Is it me telling you to talk to people politely, not to physically abuse them? You call that pandering? What I preach for is no physical or violent abuse, and also to talk to people respectfully. I'm not pandering. I am against everything, all their values. I'm taking the most aggressive position against Islamic values. That is not pandering. Saying by showing compassion. I'm showing compassion to, what do you mean? Like, you think I'm pandering because I'm showing compassion? If by compassion you mean that I'm not for physical or violent abuse, is that what you think, that you will do better if you did something, if you violently attack people? If by compassion that you mean that I'm holding back against Islam, I'm not holding back against Islam. I am the most radical against Islam. I'm proudly anti-Islamic. If by compassion you mean that physically I don't want to harass or abuse them, yes, I think that works better. I think morally that's the stronger position. I'm not asking for them to I don't expect that for all of them to do that in return. I just think that's a more strategic and more a higher moral higher moral ground. And I also think that I would be more effectively anti-Islamic if I do so. It's like, and it won't be interpreted as weakness. You still do not know the enemy. You do not know the enemy, Gigi. You have no idea what you're talking about. I was a Muslim. I lived half of my life in Iran. I've been studying Islam way longer than you have. I have been more in touch with Muslims my entire life, more than you could ever even get close to. You have no idea what you're talking about. My entire activism, most of my activism has been against Islam. I speak to Muslims, I debate to Muslims, I follow Muslims, I follow their content, I listen to them, all sorts of them. From the most radical to the most wokest LGBT-friendly mosque. I visit their mosques. You have no idea what you're talking about. I know this more than you could ever imagine. I've visited, every time I travel, I visit the mosques just to understand how the different mosques in different countries operate, in different cities operate. The only mosque, by the way, I was ever kicked out of, I've been to so many fundamentalist mosques and they welcomed me. The only mosque that I was almost kicked out of was a woke LGBT friendly mosque. So when I go to mosque, for example, I go there and ask questions, and usually it's welcomed and they answer my questions. But when I went in London, I went to an LGBT woke mosque and I started asking questions. They almost kicked me out. That was very funny. Yeah. So what do you mean? So you're saying that I'm showing compassion. You don't want to show compassion. What do you mean by that? So what do you want to do by not showing compassion? What does that look like? Do you want to be abusive? Well, good luck with that, because that's exactly what Islam wants you to do. Do you think I'm being respectful and friendly because I want for them to do that to me in return? No. I just know that my anti-Islamic stance will work more effectively. And again, it has worked more effectively. I have brought more people out of Islam than you ever have, Gigi. So don't lecture me. I know what I'm doing. You have no idea. This person is saying, should you not be able to be an Islamophobe, especially if you are a murtad? Yes. Well, I mean, Islamophobe is not the right term. Anti-Islamic is the better, because as Ash was mentioning, phobia is an irrational fear. I think anti-Islamic is the right term. So let's go to this one. Ayan is saying, then can we say Islamophobia is bullshit, but Muslimophobia exists? I don't like the word phobia for any of these. I would say anti-Muslim bigotry does exist, and anti-Muslim bigotry helps Islam, right? Yes, it does exist. Anti-Muslim bigotry does exist. It is a problem, and it also helps the spread of Islam. Both Muslimophobia and Islamophobia, they both are nonsensical terms. Taking a position against individual Muslims is the wrong thing to do. Taking a position against Islam is the correct thing to do. Again, but here's the thing: showing not being an anti-Muslim bigot, that doesn't mean supporting mass migration from Islamic countries. I am very much in favor of completely stopping, against, except very rare circumstances, migration from Islamic countries. And that is not anti-Muslim bigotry. Anti-Muslim bigotry is like you seeing a hijabi woman in the street and abusing her or harassing her just because she's hijabi. That is anti-Muslim bigotry. Anti-Muslim bigotry is not you telling a Muslim why you're against Islam. Anti-Muslim bigotry is not you drawing a cartoon of Muhammad. Anti-Muslim bigotry is not even swearing at Islam, swearing and insulting Muhammad. These are all good things. Okay, anti-Muslim bigotry is just physically harassing or being abusive to somebody just because they're a Muslim. That is not going to work against Islam, and it's not the right thing to do. That's what I'm talking about. That's the only thing I'm talking about. All right, guys. If you think that we have the best weapon, unlike Gigi, if you think we have the best strategy here to fight back against Islam in this channel, please, again, consider supporting this channel. Please like this stream. Please subscribe to this channel. And please recommend us to as many people as you possibly can. Okay? And again, till next stream. Bye-bye.